lower self. And the focus of the higher self, engages thoughts and actions related to that which is of the positive, that which is du jour, and with the fair, the just, the righteous, the balanced, the truth, and the love, etc. The lower self refers to the thoughts and to the actions which are de facto, that which deludes to selfishness, to usury, to parasitic narcissism, to unfair exploitation, and with injustice, with murder, with theft, with frauds, and with everything negative, and with thoughts that harm, etc. And we are sharing with you now some of the fundamental elements about land jurisdiction, air jurisdiction, and water jurisdiction relative to things and to aspects one needs to know about law and about sovereignty. And so law is essentially land, air, and water jurisdiction issues constructed on what you would call constitutional reasoning relative to the makeup of man, harmonic with the laws of nature and nature's God principle, so that it actually offends none, but recognizes and preserves the unalienable rights or birthrights of man as a species at Midgard Earth. Now, I want to present to you this. Some of these things we're going to be talking about is to present to you certain fundamental principles so that you can know for yourself that if you have not been experiencing what you would have been calling government from this perspective, you have been experiencing criminality. If you have not been experiencing these fundamental principles presented to you, which are in their essence de jure, you have been experiencing the opposite, which is de facto. So therefore, this would help you have a measure of truth from falsehood to distinguish the two. Fake government or de facto government distinguished from de jure, which would be the real. And I find it necessary because these people and their minions among us have been continuing their exploitation of our people. And due to the fact that the platforms that they have constructed for these last thousands of years or so are being dismantled with the energy of the Aquarian lights and the consciousness of the people coming into the higher planes of life, thus their thoughts are arising or ascending, and the pineal gland is becoming more active. This is the age of what you will call enlightenment or consciousness. That path of thinking is what we're on in general. Some are arising or ascending, some and some less so. And so we're sharing this information so that you can be more willing and knowingly willing to let go of some false concepts that may have been inculcated within your thought processes and in the paradigm of your existence, that you yourself must shed them. And it is not being shared with you to make you a follower of anyone, but to help liberate you in relationship to the cognizance of your relationship to government and its relationship to you. And so we will continue. So in this treatise, we review the subject matters involving American law and the laws of government. And in any controversy or law issues concerning diverse arguments or jurisdictions, etc., one must be made aware of the parties in the controversy. Keep that in mind. Always being aware of parties in the controversy. There's no such thing as a controversy existing that needs adjudication or needs to be brought before a court or needs to be brought before the public view relative to a process of what you'll call the thought processes of the people or of a competent or incompetent political venue platform known as a court, etc. So, in this controversy, issues concerning diverse arguments or jurisdiction, one must be made aware of the parties in the controversy, the matters of the claims, the competency of the jurisdiction presented, the veracity or lack thereof concerning venue, and the conditional capacities of those who decide or rule in the resolutions of the case or issues at hand, etc. And trusting that the limited presentments shared tonight, at least, will assist one in one's capacity to discern in vetting those who claim authority in matters of persons, in matters of subjects, in matters of territorial jurisdictions, etc. And so let us be clear on the issues of diverse controversy concerning America, Americans, and law and sovereignty. First, who are the Americans? Americans are the aboriginal and indigenous natural peoples of the lands located geographically at the western degrees of the aggregate organic lands on Midgard Earth. The Americans are dark olive, copper, and melanin complexion natural peoples distinguished from Xanthus or Occidental peoples. The true anthropological histories demonstrate that the Americans are descendants of the ancient Canaanite, Moabite, Asiatic, African peoples. And they are the direct descendants of the ancient peoples generally referred to as Phoenicians, Moors, Almorocans, Mu, and related Asiatic African peoples. In the matter of sovereignty, we are referring to the natural divine state of man and woman as existing in physical dimension, descended from the natural womb of mother, womb man, being a gateway from the divine source, commonly and loosely referred to as God, the creator, etc. In the matters of civilization and organized government, sovereignty is vested in the people and is conditionally extended by reasonable and consented agreement to a monarch or representative governing body of men and or women whose political existence is predicated on the service of preserving, of securing, of upholding, and of protecting the pre-existing natural and unalienable rights of the governed. They have no other purpose of political construct. And thus the rightful or de jure government of the said people may be referred to as sovereign. A vital point of our present conversation is to present, to know that many people or persons who have claimed to be, quote unquote, the sovereign power or authority over you, over your rights, or over your property or labor, etc., are usually lying or criminal de facto in intent and in actions, as distinguished from those beings or entities possessing true or de jure delegated authorities. Discernment in the law and sovereignty matters is a focal point. And so shielding or shedding parasitic peoples from your energy field is indeed a part of the intent of this treatise. Be cognate and be aware. Nativity and nationality cognate thinking is the order of the day. Now, let us share with you some liberating and knowledgeable principles about American law and the laws of government. And so now we're going to go into some of these fundamentals that I will share with you, that I've been sharing with people for about 40 years, etc. And this particular, I want to present to you to know that people who claim to be government, who claim to have authority over you, who have been taxing you wrongfully, and who have been executing powers over your property, over your bodies, over your labors, etc. If what you have been experiencing is contrary to what I'm about to read to you, know that you've been dealing with criminals and frauds. That's the beginning of many of you to be on your path of social, political, and economic liberation, sometimes referred to as self-determination. Isn't that term being used lightly and wrongly by many who don't teach these things? And you'll also recognize why they don't teach civics. Now, I'm going to give you some categories that are being presented here. However, we will not go over all of them. We will go over some of them points for points that will give you something to mull over, to think about, to conceptually recognize that you have not been exposed to this, although they've been telling you that they are your government. Pardon me. You'll be dealing with laws in general. Laws in general, justice, laws, law of nature, law of nations, municipal law, sovereignty. What is sovereignty? By whom sovereignty is exercised, division of the powers of sovereignty, what is a constitution, and different forms of government as an example. And so what I'm going to read to you, just to get you primed in relationship to what the intent of the matter that we're presenting to you for your liberation purposes, and for you to start taking more responsibility in your lives, presenting to you, and this is in the enumerated form, say points from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I think that should be sufficient for the night, since we can't go any further, but it will be enough, I think, for you to get the concepts or ideas of what we're sharing with you tonight here at the House of Reawakening Minds, which is being moderated by Dr. Naila Gilliam, and I'm sure that many of you have shared with her, also have walked with her in the official office hours of Dr. G for quite some time. And I think this will be helpful for us all in the constant communications and questions that arise from the people who have been sharing these nights and these evenings with us. This is to help you along the way, also to help you formulate your questions more intelligently relative to substance as opposed to emotionalism, which has been, for the most time, with many of us, a waste of time and actually dragging, or what you call retarding. So we want to counter that kind of mentality, those kind of activities, by giving you factual information. So here we go. Institutes of American Law, preliminary book of laws and government. And I'm going to go from chapter 1, and I'm going to deal from, say, 1 to 10 points. Keep in mind, take notes. And many of you who have always been sharing here with us, the House of Reawakening Minds, remember to go and review the video so that you can take more refined notes. And we will be sharing some of this information in printed form with those who come to share with us in the post that Dr. Naila will be posting in the near future. Today. That will be listed. That will be listed as for the people.
Up close and personal 2.
Yes, number 2. All right. So those of you who make the trek to come to the up and personal with us too,
on the 30th,
this will be made available for those who want to purchase it just for printing costs. No more than printing costs. So here we go. Pay attention. Take notes. Number 1. Man is a social being, fond of the company of his fellows, and always disposed to live with others. It is thus that families, tribes, and nations are formed. Men render to and receive mutual benefits and assistance from each other. But in such societies, there must constantly arise causes of difference among the several members. And these must be adjusted or settled either by the parties themselves or by some power which is superior to them. Their rights must also be regulated so that the parties may know to what each one is entitled. This is done by an actual or presumed agreement of all the members of the society, the state, or the nation, by the establishment of certain rules which acquire the name of laws. The knowledge of these laws, or the science by which they are understood, overstood, understood, comprehended, is called jurisprudence. 2. The first step to understand the science is therefore to know exactly the nature of the laws and to form of them a definite and precise idea. By science is understood a connection of truths founded on evident principles or on demonstrations. A collection of truths of the same kind arranged in a methodical order for the purpose of making them more easily comprehended and understood. 3. In its most extensive sense, the word law signifies rule of action. It is a rule which all beings, whether animate or inanimate, reasonable or not, must observe. Thus we say the laws of motion, the laws of gravitation, the laws of mechanics, as we say natural laws, political or criminal laws. In this sense, all beings have their laws. The material world have their laws. Animals and man each have their laws. The knowledge of all these laws belong to philosophy, which is the immensity, embraces all the knowledge which man acquire by the use of his reason. More circumscribed in its object, jurisprudence regulates only human actions. 4. Law in this view, then, is the rule of human actions. That is, of those actions which are the result of the free exercise of intelligence and of will. Law is called a rule of action by a metaphor borrowed from mechanics. A rule, in its proper sense, is the instrument by which or by means of which we draw from one point to another the shortest line possible, which is called a straight line. The rule is used in comparison to the arts in order to judge whether a line is straight, as it is used in law to judge whether an action is just or unjust. An action is just or right when it conforms to the rule, which is the law. It is unjust when it differs from the line or the rule. Then it is not right. And so it is of our will or intention. 5. Justice has been variously defined, and it is the constant and perpetual disposition to render to every man his due. Or perhaps more correctly, it is a conformity of our actions and wills to the law. 6. Justice is an interior or exterior. First is the conformity of our will, and the last of our actions to the law. The union of both makes perfect justice. The last is alone the subject of human jurisprudence. Interior justice is the object of morality. 7. In the most extensive sense of the word, justice differs but little from virtue, for it includes within itself the whole circle of virtues. Yet the common distinction between them is this: that which positively and in itself is called virtue, when considered relatively with respect to others, has the name of justice. But justice, being in itself a part of virtue, is confined to things simply good or evil, and consists in a man taking such proportion of them as he ought. 8. To make a law, there must be a superior who has authority to make it, as an inferior who is bound by it. To complete the definition of law, we must say that it is a rule prescribed by a lawful superior. God, as a principle, is the first great superior. Peace and order in